real estate business, or do you need a website for your business overall? So this is something that I constantly get asked when I'm teaching my students, and I wanted to address it. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to go over the pros, right? So YouTube algorithm, and the cons, the pros and cons of having a website for your business. Let's get in, right? So over here, I listed plainly the pros. Over here, I listed plainly the cons. I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of each. I think I'm going to alternate pros then cons, pros then cons, pros and cons. I don't know the exact format, but I wanted to get this out there to you. All right, so let's begin. What are some of the pros of having a website, right? Well, the pros of having a website, one, you get professionalism. So as a business owner, not a lot of people want to do business with somebody who don't have a website. Even if the website doesn't do anything, if your business, especially with how inexpensive things cost these days, your business, a website is nothing to get up. So you get that professionalism and you build that trust when you have a website. That's one of the pros of having a website. One of the cons to that, right, is the cost. So there are costs associated with having a website, and these costs vary depending upon what you need. So the website will cost, a domain will cost, the web hosting can cost, and then you can have costs, right? So I got company sponsored sites. I want to make sure I address that. But costs of websites, right? So you got costs associated with like just about each part of having a website. So costs. A domain can cost you, on average, a domain will cost you $20 for the year. On average. $20 per year, right? And you can find some better deals, and like for an example, you can pay even more for a domain. But typically, when you buy a domain, ideally you want a .com domain. When you buy a domain, it costs $20 per year. So that's relatively inexpensive. Even if you just buy it and do nothing with it, like say your name or something like JeromeLewis.com, I bet, and I use it, but ideally, I like a lot of people to capture their name as a domain. So $20 a year, if you can't afford $20 a year, maybe you shouldn't be a business, but $20 a year, at the very least, I want you to capture a domain that you can refer people to, right? So that's the cost of a domain, $20 per year. There are other costs associated with having a website. So there's a cost to building a website, which varies, which I'm not going to put here, but building a website can vary from hundreds to thousands. And some people go out and you can get it done for free at very, very cheap cost, but you get what you pay for. You understand? You get what you pay for. So web hosting, this varies too, but in general, web hosting is fairly cheap. It depends on the complexity of your site, but we offer websites, right? And we include, so if you come with a domain or you want us to purchase a domain, that's $20 per year. But web hosting has a cost associated with it too. So typically, I don't know what the average around web hosting, you get paid for in general. When you're doing websites and technology, you get what you pay for. So try to be cheap, you're going to get cheap services. If you pay a premium, you will get premium services. So what we offer is, we offer hosting, and we do that, like we'll maintain and run your website. Right now, our special is $57, right? And you might be able to get it from us for $47, and that's per month, right? But our websites do a bunch of things. You don't just sit there, you get a CRM, you get a bunch of stuff with our website. But that's the cost associated with web hosting, right? Ours is $57. You can get more, you can get less. It really depends, right? So those are just some of the cons associated with having a website. It's the cost. That's probably the biggest con associated with having a website. It's the cost. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't know, how much does it cost? And there's no set and defined parameters on what a website should cost and what they should do. So that's probably the biggest con that I see, especially with new people. If you're like new and you're trying to start a business, you're trying to figure your way out, it's probably the cost. So back to pros of having a website, customization. So you can customize that website to whatever you want to customize it to, right? You can make it whatever. It's up to you. You're only limited by the creativity of your imagination and your web designer. So you can do a lot of customizations when you have your own website. You can say exactly what you want to say. You can do almost exactly what you want to do within reason, right? Brand ownership. So when you have a website, right? I'm in the real estate business, and a lot of people are like, "Yeah, I'm in business. I do this, and this." And it's like, "Okay, show me your website." They don't have a website, or they don't really have a brand. Well, when you get a website, at the very least, you now have a brand. You now have a business, right? So that's one of the pros of having a website. You get that brand ownership. You can take charge of your brand, and you own it, right? Another pro that I like to point out with having a website, right? If you're in business, a lot of people don't understand the importance of marketing. But if you're in business, you need to attract customers, you need to attract leads, et cetera, et cetera. Well, if you're in business or you're like a small proprietor and you're just around, hey, this is what I do, word of mouth, and in the real estate industry, they call it door knocking. Yeah, I just door knock for all my leads. Well, that's cool. That's a fine marketing strategy. But if you're serious, you want like market out there for you 24/7. And if you get yourself a website, right? This website is always running. With you there, without you there, that website will always be running and up and there. So at the very least, that's a pro that you want to have, but that's a pro that you get by having a website. You get that 24/7 branding and marketing presence, right? Websites are up 24 hours a day. So me, right, as an example, I can door knock 8 to 5, 8 to 6 on a good day. How many hours is that? 6, 7 hours or something like that. Well, website is up 24/7. It's always up. And it's always doing my branding and my marketing for me. So I don't have to go out and door knock like me. Maybe you like the door knock. You could door knock, but you like door knocking. Why not add this to it, right? Why not add a website to it to help cover your costs? Something I like to point out is like, how much is your time worth, right? How much is your time worth? So instead of cheap on a website or marketing or branding or something like that, think about it a different way. So having a website for, let's just say, I don't know, $6 a month, right? If you have one, having a website for $60 a month that runs for you 24/7, I mean, you can't really beat that cost, right? So you get that 24/7 branding and marketing when you have a website. You can't door knock 8 to 5 after work hours. You can't phone call after work hours. Typically, it's not really accepted. You can do it, but it's not really accepted in society. Brand consistency, we kind of already touched on this between these two. Brand consistency, when you have a website, your brand is consistent. So you say what you need to say, you do what you need to do. If I'm knocking on doors, I can forget a word here and there, right? I got to study my 60-second elevator pitch and I got to remember it, but sometimes I forget a certain word or something might throw me off track or something like that. But when you have a website, you got that brand consistency and you can always deliver your same message accordingly, right? And I always talk about video. This is not really about video, but if say you put a video on your website, and you want to introduce somebody or tell them what it is that you're doing as a product or a service, right? So we're in real estate, and sometimes it gets really complicated. Sometimes people are behind and they need help on their bills or something like that, and we got to explain this complex process. Well, guess what, Mr. Seller, Mr. Buyer, I actually have a really good video about that, or I actually have a really good web page about that you can check out. Is that okay? Yes, and then you send them to your website or whatever, right? Let's go back over some of these cons of having a website, right? So one of the ones that we often get, and probably one of my favorites, is like the technicalities of having a website, right? So in order to have a website, there is required, no matter what anybody says, Wix and Vistaprint and these sites that are like, hey, come get your site up and running, and there's no tech involved. That's not really true. Having a website does require some technical expertise. I don't care what you say, even if it's not the website itself. Like just this up here, what we talked about, the domain transfer and buying in it's technical and it can be overwhelming for people. So understand that this is one of the cons of having a website. It can be technical. So you want to have, either you need to have some technical know-how or you want to consult with a technical expertise. And of course, I offer technical consultations. This is not the point. If you want to do that, you can check out my website, JeromeLewis.com. But you do require some technical expertise and some technical know-how if you want to have a website, right? So it does require that. Back to pros. So pros, right? These are, we touched on those ones, and we got remarketing and tracking, right? So remarketing and tracking. By having a website, you can remarket and you track people. You can track people, you can track their behaviors, you can track what's going on. Did they like my offer? Did they not? How long were they on my website? Well, when you don't have a website, you can't do this. You can't do that remarketing and retracking, right? And so I'll talk about tracking, but remarketing, right? Somebody came on your page or you mailed somebody something, right? They're potentially a customer or prospect. They're potential, but you have no way of reaching them, right? Let's just say over here, you don't have a website and you went out door knocking, you did really well. And this person, you got to keep following up with that person. Say they have a job, which is, I don't know. Some people have jobs, some people don't these days. I can't say it's normal, but say they have a job between 9 to 5, your working hours. Well, when can you have a conversation with them? During their lunch? I don't want to talk to you during my lunch. I'm trying to eat, right? Or after hours when they're spending time with their family, they don't want to talk to you then. Maybe the weekend. Well, so you're restricted to interacting to them within that defined set of parameters, like that only time, the only time parameters. Well, when you have a website, you can remarket and you can retarget those people, right? So you get a website and you hit it off with this customer, this prospect. Well, guess what? You can get them uploaded into your website, over to your CRM, or you can get them uploaded into your marketing campaign or something like that. And then they can contact you at their convenience, right? You can remarket to them several times. Maybe they were not ready to do business with you on that first interaction, but in a couple months, they will be ready. Well, if you're not there with the remarketing and the retargeting in a couple of months, guess what they're going to do? Because they still have that problem or that itch they need to scratch. They're going to go find somebody else. So bam, they stole your cookies, they stole your business, right? So have a website, so you can remarket and retarget. Over here, let's go back to the cons. Another to do. So what that means is when you have a website, that's just one more thing you got to do in your business. It's another thing that you got to keep up with, maintain, and worry about. So that's one of the cons. Like, is it worth? I think it's worth it, but some people might not think it may not be worth it for some people. It's like, this is another thing I got to do. I don't care. I don't need a website, right? However, I just think that the pros outweigh the cons for the most part, especially as a business owner. If you're individual and you want to be cheap and get off with door knocking or something like that, that's cool too. It all works. And I'm not trying to demean, but it all works. Every marketing channel works, right? All right, so over here, back to the pros. When you have a website, it's a communication system, right? So it's not only a website. Websites can be very complex. They can do, remember we talked about remarketing, tracking, retargeting. Well, when you have a website, it can do a lot of that stuff for you, right? So phone calls, you get the phone calls. You can only door knock and phone call during work hours. Well, with your website, you got a basic communication system. And you can do that anytime you want. And in this communication system, typically CRM, you can do a bunch of complex things. You can flag the person, take notes. There are a ton of things that you can do within this communication system. So that's one of the pros of having a website. There is so much to do. It gets very complex and complicated, but there is so much that you can do as a business, right? As an individual, okay, maybe you don't want it, but as a business, I think everybody should have a website. Definitely have a website. And again, we offer websites at $57 a month. I'll post a link to that in the description. But so if you want a website, specifically real estate entrepreneurs, if you're like outside of real estate, we can build you a custom solution too. But typically I'm talking to my real estate peeps. Now, final con, right? Final con is labor. And that goes into another to-do, technical labor. Like, who's going to maintain that website? So not only do you have to pay for it, but you need somebody to actually do the labor, like somebody to actually grind out the work or whatever it is. So that's one of the other cons of having a website. Somebody's got to do this work. And a lot of times, like if you're even asking this question, do I need a website for my real estate? Do I need a website for my business? You might not be interested in maintaining or upkeeping that site. So that's one of the cons with having a website. You got to find somebody to do the labor because it's important. The labor and the maintenance, somebody has to maintain that. So do I need a website for my business? Do you need a website for your business? No, you do not need a website for your business. However, if you want long-term success, I want to say yes, you absolutely need a website for your business. You want to run this as a business, not a mom and pop shop. So the answer is yes, but no. maybe, whatever. The answer is I'm a yes person. I absolutely believe that you should get a website. However, it is not necessary for you to have success. Maybe you go out, close a few deals, get a few customers, and then you get your website up. That's great. But is it a necessity? No. All right. So do I need a website for my business? No. But should I have a website for my business? Absolutely yes. All right. So I appreciate you watching, and do me a favor. Comment, like, subscribe. If you have any questions, right, ask me in the comment section. Do me a favor and like this video. You don't even have to subscribe because people, I don't know, people get weird. But like this video if you found it helpful. And if you have questions or you need clarity on a specific subject or topic, comment and I'll do a video around it. So I hope this has convinced you to, at the very least, mentally prepare yourself to have a website for your business, right? I don't want you out there. This is one of the biggest mistakes that people make. They go out there and they don't have a website, and you lose business. You lose business to people by not having a website. So believe it or not, I'm a millennial. If you don't got a website or social media presence, you don't exist. You don't exist, and I don't want to do business with you. Why? Because I can find somebody that does. I don't care how the relationship is, right? If you're coming to me with a business proposal, I want to see a website. I want to see some kind of social media out there. And this is generally how millennials think. Okay? So just understand that. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you on the other side. Bye-bye.